I thought I'd talk about a little trick that I use when I'm stuck with writing. The best writing happens when it's just being discovered line by line, but sometimes I'm stuck and I go, okay, I'm going to start off with what I call a punchline. So this morning I began with the feeling of sleeping with your shoes on. I don't know why. It brings something terrible up for me. I've slept with my shoes on a very small handful of times in this life, and it's the worst feeling in the world. So I started off with, okay, sleeping with your shoes on, that's where I want to arrive. And so I started going, what are the feelings for that? And I thought, when I'm keeping up with what's going on in the world, it feels like I'm sleeping with my shoes on and I lose a sense of magic. And so I wrote something like that about it. I thought, oh, that's good. Another one that I used recently that's gone massively viral was I did a similar trick where I started off with the word useless. It's so powerful, and I've often felt useless in this world, or just being useless, almost willfully useless. And I thought, imagine putting useless on my resume. That made me laugh. So I began with the punchline of useless and the energy and the personal feelings that has brought me. And so I wrote, I decided to become completely useless to a world that insisted all the wrong things were important. And then when I finished it off with another line that I'd already written, if the modern world's making you feel sick, just remember the heart is ancient and hasn't had any updates. And that was another a separate line I came up with. I thought, the heart's so old, yet we bog the mind down with so much crap. Like, the mind's always getting updated with new ideas, new psychology, new education, and yet the heart just does the same old thing. Just trudges along the same old path, which is why history always repeats itself. No matter how much the mind gets updated, it's the same old heart. And so anyway, I combine those two ideas together. I just thought I'd start off with just a little trick to get out of creative writing block that I use sometimes when I'm aware of, when I go, oh yeah, that's right, I'll just come up with what's a single word or a single action or emotion that really resonates with me, and I'll use that as a punchline or something to write towards. And for me, that's not the best kind of writing. My favorite is when I'm discovering it line by line, as I said before. But yeah, it's sometimes you can come up with some great stuff, reverse engineering writing and going that way. And yeah, it's definitely useful. But I thought I'd also talk about the book I'm writing. I'm not going to mention it anywhere else, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be called Holding Back Reality with One Hand and Reaching for Magic with the Other. And it's kind of what I went through for 30 years. I had all these magical ambitions as a kid to be a painter or an artist somehow, and that all sort of collapsed real quick. And it's like, oh, I've got to work now, I've got to pay for rent, I've got to do all that sort of crap. And so for 30 years, I just felt out of place, out of time, just doing stuff that I just didn't want to do. Had no idea why I was doing it. I was like, why am I born to do this stuff? But that's also the challenge as well. And it took me a while to work out, okay, so I want to make art, but maybe the actual art is being creative enough to wiggle myself free from that situation, and that is the art, not the painting on the wall or the song on a radio or a book. The actual art was wriggling free from a bad situation and trying to judo flip it. And for me, that was the art. And so as soon as I saw that as the actual art and not the what you normally consider art, that's when everything changed. And I thought, okay, this is a game. This is an art. I'm an artist, and my art is to turn a weekend into a weekday and the weekdays into a weekend. That's the art, to judo flip that and see what happens. And it just took me 30 years to do. It just took me a long time, but I managed it. And so that's the book I'm trying to write, holding back reality with one hand, reaching for magic with the other. I get a lot of questions about how did you find the energy after work to write or to make anything? You just got no energy. And that seems like something that a lot of people have a genuine problem with, and I did too. I've talked about that on another podcast episode. But yeah, I'm not going to really give practical tips in the book. More psychological tips, more poetic tips, more of a state of mind, or a way to be, a way to feel through that. There are a lot of practical books on that sort of stuff, but I want to draw from my own life experience to do it. Just my own sort of anecdotal. They almost feel like the books I'm writing almost feel like they're autobiographical, but in a way that they're accessible and not boring. I wanted to write a book of just beautiful quotes, just beautiful things, but that was feeling forced. And so when I started writing, this is what emerged. This is the book that emerged and told me to write it. So I went, okay, I'm going to do it. And they're the pieces that seem to resonate as well on social media. So that's what I was doing. So I'm going to divide the book into two parts: holding down reality with one hand and reaching for magic with the other. So day job, night magic. One half of the book will be black text on white pages, and the second half white text on black pages. So day and night, and how sort of the thoughts that I went through while I was going through that experience over 30 years, but as poetically and funny and whatever I can. So far I've written about 120 something pages, aiming for 250, so I've written half of it, and I've definitely used the word magic too much. Like, I'm just going to have to go through the book and go, okay, you're being lazy, Darby. You're over relying on a same old word. Say it. Oops, resting that on my steering wheel. Say it differently, Darby. But yeah, that'll all happen over time. We're going to aim to hand it into the publisher probably in November, and out for a year later after You're Going to Be OK's out. So that'll be this one book a year that I'd like to try and stick to. It's a fun write so far. The first part's a little bit, not a downer, but it's a little bit more cynical, a little bit more, and up with optimism, but I'm looking to find beauty in the second part of it. I felt like You're Going to Be Okay is almost a little bit of optimistic nihilism, if you could call it that, or even kind of lightweight stoicism. But this one I would like to find more Eastern philosophy, not consciously, but that's what it's seen. That's where it's sort of gravitated towards without realizing it. I'd written 120 pages and went, oh, this is a little bit a little bit more of the sky and less of the dirt than the last book. So yeah, that's the natural direction that it decided to flow in. So yeah, that'll be fun. It's fun working on it. And I'm sort of trying to think of the next book. While I'm into the second half of writing this, I'm kind of trying to keep in mind, what do I want to make for a fourth book? And that will be interesting, because I feel like after this book, I'll have milked most of my life story across the three books. Darby Love, My Mum, You're Going to Be Okay, which is written mostly by the train tracks while I was trying to get out of jobs, and this one, now that I'm outside it, with a bit of breathing space to find the magic, a little bit more magic. So the fourth one will be an interesting. It'll be interesting to try and find a way in. I feel like finding a way into a book is like doing a break and enter, trying to find the window that's open, or a door that I can just kick down, get in, get out. A fourth book I think will take a lot more discipline, because I've used a lot of my life experience from the last few books. So now I'm gonna have to find, I would like to make the fourth book extremely positive, but not in a Hallmark cutesy way, but in a genuinely beautiful way, whatever that is. And maybe that will be the continuation from the second half of this book that I'm writing, which is holding down reality with one hand, reaching for magic with the other. Maybe it's an extension of that reaching for magic. I don't know. Anyway, if you'd like to leave a review wherever you're listening to this little star rating or whatever, I'd love it.